Spirit Blossom has finally released all its legends. We can finally take a quick look at all of them and what they do. We're going to be doing a preliminary tier list based off of my first impressions of each of the legends. We will revisit this list in a future video once all the cards have been released, so that way we can see whether or not I was very correct or very incorrect based off of our assessment. We have a Discord community where we talk about all things Riftbound, link in the description down below. We're going to jump into our first legend, Azir, Emperor of the Sands. He states that your Sand Soldiers have Weapon Master. His legend ability says you can pay 1 energy, exhaust, play a 2 Might Sand Soldier unit token to your base, use if you've played an equipment this turn. So for 1 energy, you get a 2 Might unit, which is very good. However, this only works if you've played equipment this turn. The strategy that this deck will revolve around is going to be Voltron. Voltron is a strategy where you have one very, very massive unit that's very strong and hard to deal with that will help you win the game. I see this working because you want to play an equipment almost every turn, and because your Sand Soldiers have Weapon Master, you can just equip all of the equipment onto one Sand Soldier, and because they become super massive, they can move into battlefields and take over them, and you're always going to be getting a free body only if you've played an equipment this turn. I see the deck working with a lot of synergies, and I see a lot of future potential with cards like Nasus, Renekton, Xerath. These are all cards in the Runeterra universe that have ascended forms, and I'm very curious to see what they do with Azir. Based off of my first impression, I believe Azir is going to be a C tier legend. The reason why I believe Azir is going to be a C tier legend is because his condition is very conditional. We do not know how good the gears are going to be because we've only seen a couple of gears so far with the release, and we're also not too sure if that's a strategy that can be able to carry itself well. If and only if we see a lot of strong equipments in common order, then potentially Azir can be more B tier, but for now, based off of what we're seeing, I'm putting him in C tier. The next unit is Draven. He is a Fury Chaos, Glorious Executioner. When you win a combat, draw 1. You win only if your units remain after combat. Now this is very interesting. He is a improvement upon Jinx. Jinx Loose Cannon basically states that you can only draw an extra card if you only have 1 card or less in your hand. Draven, however, allows you to start drawing cards right away just by winning in combat. Now this is very strong because we have seen a couple of Draven's cards. Draven has his signature spell, Spinning Axe. It's a quick draw, which means it has reaction. You can play it from your hand and attach it right away. And it basically says, if this is unattached, kill it at the start of its controller's beginning phase before scoring. However, this equipment is so strong. It's a +3. There's also other equipments up here, like the Longsword, which also has quick draw, but it gives +2 instead of +3. Those are all cards that can easily help Draven win battlefields, gain advantage, or protect itself because of its color region. I am putting Draven higher on the list. I believe he is a very strong unit, A tier. Very, very strong because he does have a lot of support going on through his color. Overall, this color combination is the same as Annie and Jinx, and those decks perform pretty well right now. It's just overshadowed by Kai'Sa at the moment, but with a few more support cards, I could see Draven taking up some top spots. Next, we have Ezreal, Prodigal Explorer. He is exhaust this as a reaction to draw 1. Use only if you've chosen enemy units and or gear twice this turn with spells or unit abilities. This leads me to believe that there are going to be more cards that are going to be released that allow us to be able to target gears and enemy units a bit more. We already have a good amount of cards that target the enemy units in that color region. We have cards like Stupefy, Smokescreen, Orb of Regret. We already have some cards that I would say are pretty staple in the color region that help us target the opponent's cards. I do believe that we do need to see more cards before Ezreal can be really good. However, I do see this being really useful for being able to draw a lot of cards to get in hand. So I can see this being the premier legend to be able to play Mundo instead, but we'll have to wait and see which direction and what cards we can see. So being able to draw one after targeting an opponent's gear or equipment or unit twice means you can replace one of the two cards you do place, assuming you do play cards. But I'm gonna guess that there are gonna be gears or units that you can exhaust to be able to target down your opponent's gears and or units, making it so that Ezreal can get a lot of value. And extra draw one every turn seems very nice. It's really hard to go wrong with that. So we're gonna put Ezreal in B tier for now. Moving on to Fiora. Fiora is body and order. She is the grand duelist, and her legend ability states that when one of your units become mighty, you may exhaust me to channel one rune exhausted. Mighty unit is while it has 5 might or more. Now, in her color region, we already have 4 might units that honestly do decent. Kinko Monk, Kiana, Set, Vanguard Sergeant, Solari Chief, Spectral Matron, Fiora, Leona, Machine Evangel, Victor. If you are able to buff these characters up by 1, she gets her ability to channel 1 rune exhausted. And a very simple and easy way to be able to do that is to be playing a card called Arena Bar. Buff an exhausted friendly unit, and by doing so, you would make any of the 4 mights unit 5, making it become mighty and therefore triggering her ability. This is a little bit more of a step compared to, say, Volibear, because Volibear, all you have to do is play a mighty unit and then you channel 1 rune exhausted. This one is interesting because there are other ways to make units mighty. For example, you can use spells like Primal Strength, which gives a unit +7, and therefore that unit becomes mighty. So there are ways to be able to buff up units outside of just using a buff. And when you do so, this will trigger again. So you don't have to constantly play units. You can play a spell and make something mighty again, and that will trigger Fiora Grand Duelist. I will say that Fiora right now, based off of all the cards that we do have available to us, and remember, gears and equipment, like right here, Doran's Blade, is something that will increase the might of your unit, also helps with that strategy. So when I see that, I do think Fiora is going to be closer to A tier. She feels really strong as she is right now, and being able to channel a rune exhausted, and she is in a color region that is nice. So we're putting her in the A tier. Now, we have not Master Yi, Jax. The same color combination as Master Yi and Lee Sin. Common body. Grandmaster at Arms. For 1 energy, you can exhaust this. You can attach a detached equipment you control to a unit you control. And just for exhausting this, you can attach an attached equipment you control to a unit you control. So Grandmaster at Arms Jax allows you to be able to play gears without having to pay its equip costs. Now, some gears have some pretty atrocious equip costs, so you can get over having to pay the power. So, as I said before, very similar to Azir, where he wants to be able to just place a bunch of gears on his stand soldiers, Jax plays very similar, where you have the ability to move your equipment to different units without having to pay its power costs. So I can see this being decently strong, assuming that there's enough synergy in the deck to make it stronger. However, just looking at this right now, there just isn't enough support to be able to make him work. However, he is in a very, very nice color region. For now, I will be putting Jax a little bit higher, only because he has very good access to cards like Charm, Defy, Unyielding Spirit. But I feel like if you're gonna be playing Jax, you're probably better off playing Yi. Oh man. Next we have Mechanized Menace. Rumble. Your mechs have shield +1 while they are defending. So he is essentially Master Yi, but weaker. And not only that, though, more conditional. When we take a look at all the available colors which are in the Kaiser region that have a mech on it, and if we scroll down, we will be able to find a couple more mechs. Because I believe, yes, Dangerous Duo is a mech. Scrapyard Champion is a mech. There are a few mechs already there. This one's a mech. But there isn't enough mechs to make it worthwhile. And we also see his signature spell, Danger Zone. It's a 1 energy, 1 power reaction, plays anytime, and you can repeat this. Give your mechs +1 might this turn. So he can make his mechs across the board stronger by +1, but you need to have multiple mechs at a battlefield to gain the most value. This realistically only works if you swarm the board with mechs. It looks like Rumble is starting to lean into a Ahri deck, just like how Ahri states that when an enemy unit attacks a battlefield you control, give it -1 this turn to minimum 1. This works in reverse to Ahri because this is when your mechs defend, they get +1. So if you have a lot of mechs at a battlefield, this can work, but it looks like this wants to play a heavy swarm token deck that has mechs as its designated tokens, and then it would get its max value. But just by looking at this right now, it doesn't look that good, unfortunately. So I am going to put Rumble in the D tier. So we have Rek'Sai, Fury Order, Void Burrower. When you conquer, you may exhaust me to reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play 1, then recycle the rest. We also have access to her signature spell, which states, reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play 1 of them, reducing its cost by 2. Draw any you did not play this way. The worst case scenario, this card just draws you 2 cards for 2 energy and 1 power. Best case scenario, you will probably encounter synergies like Noxus Hopeful. On turn 1, if you play Kaisa's Void Rush, you'll be able to play Noxus Hopeful for free because it gets -2 less from the second card being played and also -2 from this card. However, this being your first turn play doesn't sound great because you do go down a power. I will say that Kaisa probably has a lot of synergy and a lot of new cards that will synergize with cards being seen at the top of your deck. This mechanic is very reminiscent of Legends of Runeterra. However, just by looking at this right now, it does feel a little bit underwhelming because we don't know how strong the cards that are being played from the top of the deck will be and what type of synergies and power they could have. Just based off of that, I would say that Kaisa's more on the weaker side because this also only works when you conquer. So you only get this ability after you've won the effect and won the showdown. And after you've won the showdown with the unit there, there's really not much else you can do. So realistically, this card essentially allows you to be able to sort of look at 2 cards and play one of them. So it's kind of like a draw one, but it is conditional because if you can't play that card, you will put that to the bottom of your deck. And if there's a really strong card that you would have liked to draw on, you will never see that card again. So just based off of what I'm seeing right now, I do feel like Kaisa is a little bit on the weaker side. We're gonna put her into D tier for now. Now, this one is an interesting one. Ornn, Fire Below the Mountain. Reaction, add 1 power, use only to play gear or use gear abilities. So he is like a Kaisa legend, but specifically for gears. Now, this one is interesting because we haven't seen a lot of strong gears, at least in the color region that he's a part of, which is green and blue. There isn't a lot of gears that have that. The only one that we see right now that is green is Svel Songer. Attach, or as this is an attached unit, copy that unit's text to this equipment's effect for as long as this card is attached to it. So this basically copies a unit's ability. Now, this is just one of the cards that can be played for it. Just honestly looking at what we have right now, if the gears do not become even better, there's not much we can do. I mean, there are cards like Guardian Angel. If a unit would die, you can kill Guardian Angel instead, heal me, exhaust me, and recall it. We also have Steric's Gauge, Quick Draw. This has reaction when you play it. Attach it to a unit you control. So there are cards that you can play and treat them as if they were spells, very similar to how Kaisa would work for Ornn. We know Kaisa is very strong for that reason, but I don't see a gear or technically equipment where if you play it, you'll do damage to something. It's really hard to see that, at least as a quick draw effect, which basically means that the gear has reaction. Based on that preliminary analysis, I would say that I want to say Ornn is a B tier, A tier deck. I'm gonna put him more into B tier only because we don't know what the gears are gonna be. It could have a lot of potential and be higher up on the tier if there are a lot of amazing gears, but for now we're just gonna put Ornn in the tentative B tier. I think he might be good enough, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm borderline leaning into C, but we'll leave him into B for now. Next on the list we have Sivir. Body Chaos, Battle Mistress. When you recycle a rune, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. When one or more units die, ready me. This one is interesting because it's in the same color combination as Misfortune. So you could play a dazzling Battle Mistress deck, but probably not. Now, gold is you can kill this react to add a single power and add so she can be considered as kind of like a seal. So we know seals are very strong, especially when it's, for example, Kaisa, because she's a seal for spells. But this only works when you recycle a rune, so you have to go down one rune, and you can only do it once per turn unless you kill one or more units. So she will be really good if she has spells that can kill units right away, because she'll be able to get a gold out of it. So the problem with gold is that even though you have a power to be able to play with, you are still going down a rune. You do not get a rune back. You get power, but you do not get a rune. And I can only see this being viable for being able to play more gears because gears require runes to equip. So that can be very good. But I would much rather have the rune instead because I can always exhaust it for energy. Once I lose my rune, I don't have access to it, so I deramp. And we don't see a lot of cards where it makes sense. I mean, we do have cards like Doran Ring, which gives a unit +2 might, or Doran's Blade, which gives a unit +2 might. We also have Doran's Ring, which is when I conquer, you can discard one, then draw one. So it's 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 really hard to say whether or not Battle Mistress Sivir is going to be good. From the looks of it right now, she looks a little bit kind of on the weaker side. If there are more cards that come in the Body and Chaos division where it can kill more things, and I can see her being useful, but for now, she seems a little bit, honestly, on the much weaker side. So we're going to be putting her in... I kind of want to put her in a D tier, honestly. Next, we have Lucian, Fury Body. Purifier, your equipment each give +1 assault. Oof. So there are already a lot of gears. We have Triforce. When I hold, score 1 point. We have cards already where we see Lucian. Weapon Master, when you play me, you may equip one of your equipment to me for 1 power less, even if it's already attached. The first time I conquer each turn, ready me. So, Lucian wants to be attacking, going in and out, but just because your equipments give you +1 assault, in order for you to have the same value as, for example, Master Yi, which is +2 on defense, you need to have 2 cards or 2 equipments to give assault +1, and then you have the same power as a Master Yi passive. And a Master Yi Legend Ability passive just does this, but kind of better on defense. So, looking at him right now, it's going to be tough to want to play Lucian higher. I can see the strategy already, which is you stack Lucian with a ton of equipments like Triforce or Doran's Blade or Longsword. But even then, he can go in and then retreat himself back out. And then he would have to wait 1 turn, go in, retreat himself back out. I mean, I can see that being very annoying, but it seems a little bit gimmicky. Ugh, for now, we're gonna put him into C tier. I believe that if there's enough cards released, that he'll be much stronger. But for now, I just don't see the vision quite yet. Next on the list, we have Renata Glasc. Chem Baroness. When you or an ally hold, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. While your score is within 3 points of the victory score, your gold adds an additional 1 energy. Oh man. This one is interesting. So she's in the same color combination as Victor, but she gets the most power when she's at 5 points. And she also has access to some really, really crazy cards. So this one is a tough one to rank because, well, yellow and blue have a lot of access to crazy control spells. So you have your package of Smokescreen, Stupefy, which are cards that are really good for defense. You also have cards like Back to Back, Hidden Blade, which are really, really good for dealing with your opponent's units that want to come in. You also have cards like Facebreaker to stun out the opponent to keep your units alive in combat so that way you can guarantee the hold and get your gear, gold gear. So just looking at the card she has access to, oh, I didn't even tell you the strongest one. We also have before I forget, Thousand-Tailed Watcher. Just like really, really good cards in this color combination. So, based off of what I see, I do believe that Chem Baroness is strong, but I don't believe she is that crazy strong. So last on the list is Aurelia, Blade Dancer. Just by looking at her card already, I am going to rank her even without having to guess. She is straight up S tier. Let's look at what she does. When you choose a friendly unit, you may exhaust me to pay a rune to ready it. When you conquer, you may pay 1 to ready me. Let me tell you why this is already a super busted combination and legend right off the rip. So her legend says that, but her champion is a 4 rune card. Recycle 1. Your spells that choose me cost 1 energy or 1 power less. So she is a turn 2 play that you can basically play guaranteed, that you can also keep alive very, very well. So she has her Defiant Dance, which says you can give a unit +2 or another unit -2 this turn, but it can either cost just the power or just an energy if you target it on this Aurelia specifically. But not only that, though, there are some crazy spells that you can play onto Aurelia that can be cheated out, which are kind of insane. So let's take a look. We have Feral Strength. Reaction, give a unit +2 this turn. But wouldn't it be nice to just play this for 1 instead of 2? You can basically make Aurelia get a 2 might for 1, or you can make her a 4 might for 2. That seems pretty strong. You can play Flash for 1 rune instead because you're going to be targeting Aurelia. Or what about other cards? You can target her with, say, this little fun card right here, Ride the Wind. Instead of paying power to ride the wind, you can just pay 2 energy instead. Or you can also play the favorite trifecta of cards. You can play Discipline for 1, or you can also just play Block for 1, give a unit +3. That's kind of strong. You can even play Unguard for free. So if you're fully tapped out, you can just play Unguard for free and make your Fiora go up to a 6 unexpectedly, even though you are fully tapped out. So I can already see Aurelia being very strong just already with the cards you have. And that is besides the point. You do not have to target Aurelia. It says when you choose a friendly unit. Remember how we have this lovely, lovely, massive dragon? When you play me, give a unit +8 this turn. You can play a White Flame Protector. Recycle 1 rune, targeting himself. So he becomes a 16 might unit for 3 runes that comes in ready. So on turn 8, if you are behind, using Aurelia's legend ability, you can have a 16 might unit come in at a 8 energy, 3 power, and absolutely demolish your field. And when you conquer, you may pay 1 to ready me. So she can get ready again. And if you use it in tandem with, say, a card like, man, I don't know, Ride the Wind, yeah, you can do that and move it again. So this is essentially a 10 power play where you can swing 16 on both battlefields. That is already looking pretty dang strong. However, obviously, these are extremely niche scenarios, but they can happen, and I foresee it happening really good. I do believe that Aurelia is quite strong, a little bit a tier cut above the rest, but overall, this is kind of where my list stands for right now. I do believe that this tier list, it's really preliminary. We'll have to see if I'm correct. I don't know. Leave it in the comment section down below if you think I'm correct or I'm completely off my rockers Love to hear your comments. We have a Riftbound community where we talk about all things Riftbound. Links in the description down below. John Panio signing out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye for now.